Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next Alumni Rebound Podcast. I'm here with Kristin Hagopian, a recent JMU graduate. I'm going to still call you recent. And we're here to talk about Kristin's story, how she got where she is, and all that. So, Kristin, I'm going to jump right in with the first question is, tell us about, when you graduated. Just let's go through the graduation story first. So,
Okay.
talk about what was graduation like, when did you graduate, all that kind of stuff, and we'll see where that takes us.
Right. So I graduated last year, graduated with May of 2020, but finished up my last class for August. And I was offered a position with a company and I started in August. So actually it's kind of funny because when I was doing during my graduation video and online virtual graduation, I was actually driving home from my new apartment that I was getting. So I was in, and I relocated to Morgantown, West Virginia for my first position. So as soon as the video started, they're like, okay, we're about to start. I lost all internet service and I'm sitting in the car with my grad cap on. Me and my mom are driving and I'm like, oh my God, I missed it. And my dad texted me, he's like, congrats. I'm like, I'm glad someone saw it. So that was good. But other than that, it was just kind of when I went home from school, my family and we really just celebrated my accomplishments at school. I was a marketing major in the College of Business. And so it was a huge accomplishment for me because it definitely had its moments of being really challenging. So they would put up some balloons and yeah, it was nice.
So other than that technological mishap, we don't know what graduation is going to look like for this year's class. So how did you make the most of it? How did you sort of still allow that to be a celebration, even though it's not what you expected?
Right. I think at least for me and my family is we're really close and we celebrated as a family. And, they surprised me with all my aunts and uncles and, did a little surprise party. But for me, I think graduating and transitioning into an adult and really moving out and starting my post-grad year was the solidifying of I graduated. So I think as a mindset, I was really upset. But as a mindset of saying this doesn't eliminate anything you've accomplished, but still being we're still moving forward. You did it. It's time to move on, but also still, value what you went through.
Right. Okay. And then, so you already had a job. So talk through the job process, sort of how did that go? When did you start applying for jobs? When did you find out you had a job? Sort of what was that like?
Yeah. So luckily in the marketing department, I was really close with a lot of my professors. So there were a bunch of where they had companies come into our classes and they would talk about it. So one of the companies that I actually work for now, they came in and talked to our class about it. So I was applying before that and just kind of reaching out, throwing out anything I could, and just seeing what was sticking. So I started maybe around December, November time, just getting my resume going and kind of just feeling out what was around me and what was being offered. So I ended up having a couple interviews with this company and actually found out that I got the job 2 weeks before spring break. So once and I remember being on spring break and we got the notification that we're not really going back to school yet. And I was like, oh my God, all right, am I going to lose my job? So it was kind of up in the air where I was like, okay, I'm really excited, but what does this mean now? Yeah. Luckily, I didn't lose my job and I got to keep it, but it was definitely a scary situation.
Wow. Okay. So then are you coming to me today from Morgantown or?
I am, yes. But actually, as of yesterday, I got promoted. So I'm going to be moving to Milwaukee.
Wow. Okay. So let's go down that road. That's awesome. So you haven't been there that long.
No.
Already been promoted and now you're moving. So, yes. And have you even said where you're working? I feel like we've missed that.
I'm working for Tektronic Industries. So they own the brand Milwaukee Tools, Art, Ryobi, the Hoover and Dirt Devil. So it's a big parent company and they have a bunch of brands underneath them. So
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Ryobi is my favorite brand that I use.
There you go.
I keep them in business, I think, every time I go to Home Depot.
Good to hear.
So tell me about the new job then.
So, well, currently, like the first position you go into, it's through their leadership development program. So, students right out of college go in and they work either in a Home Depot for Milwaukee or Ryobi, or like I did, I started with a brand new brand, which is Team Heart in Walmart. So, they relocate you across the country. Like I have a few friends that are actually in Hawaii, and I was like, I'm so jealous of you. But so I got relocated to Morgantown, and I'm originally from New Jersey, so I'm like, this is kind of great. It's, you know, a 5-hour distance, kind of the same as me going to school. So it was a good transition coming out of, you know, college and into an adult life. So then I had 6 stores in my territory that I just went to and became like a heart rep, and, you know, really sold the brand. And now I'm transitioning onto the Milwaukee side. So I'll be working on a software system within the Milwaukee tools as a project marketing coordinator.
Okay. So then, do you know Michaela Bernatich?
I do not.
Okay. She did this job um, right after she graduated. I don't know what she's doing now. I just tried to do a quick look and figure out what she's doing now. And it was funny. I didn't know she did this job until I went into my Home Depot in Falls Church, and she was in the aisle as I was looking for something. And it was so funny because she was definitely pushing the Milwaukee brand and stuff like that. So that's really funny. So I don't know what she's doing now, but she had a similar job to that where she was checking out, making sure it was presented well in the store and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So then let's see. So that's what, 8 months, 9 months in, and you're already promoted?
8 months. Yeah.
Okay. Is that what you expected? Is that a surprise? Is that just awesome or what?
It was a surprise because it's typically like a year. But I really worked with my manager, and like I wanted to be promoted earlier. And so I really made it a known fact that I wanted to be promoted, and kind of worked really hard on my individual self, like personally and professionally, and, you know, communicated with them and did as best as I could to kind of make myself stand out kind of. And the opportunity just came up and it clicked, and I'm just very excited.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
This is big news. We'll announce this on the podcast. You'll become the how to get promoted in 8 months story. So let's talk about money.
Right.
How do you manage money? What was it like having to think about bills, taxes, rent?
Yeah.
How was that different for you than it was in college?
So in college, I didn't work during the school year. I only worked in the summers. So I would save up all my money and kind of budget it throughout the year. So coming to, you know, moving straight after college, it was definitely a little different because I'm like, okay, I have a lot to account for. I have my rent to account for. Luckily, they give me a car, so I don't have to worry about that expense. But, you know, living on your own, making sure you're getting the food you need to get, making sure all your bills are paid. I really just kind of started out with like budgeting. So saying, here's how much I need to allocate for rent, and like overestimating. Here's how much, you know, I can spend freely. Here's how much I want to save. So it was really like sitting down in the beginning, just kind of allocating to different expenses and making sure that I'm still saving as much as I want to save.
Yep. Okay. And then let's talk about what didn't go well. You know, obviously the work stuff is good. Obviously not all that was always probably magic and good, but what didn't go well? What didn't go the way you thought it would? What were things that were like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Like, what are some of either regrets or mistakes or choices you wish you'd made different?
So coming from college, like when we left, I had a really good core group of friends. And also I didn't really want to move to West Virginia. Like my top 3 choices were Charlotte, North Carolina, Colorado, and then South Carolina, Charleston. So when they called me that it was Morgantown, West Virginia, I was like, oh, okay. But I was like, I didn't have anything holding me back. And I was like, you know, it's only for a year. Let's give it a shot. You can always move back. You can always change. But I wanted to kind of push myself outside of my comfort zone. Also, I really wanted to live by myself for once before, you know, maybe I move in with somebody else or down the line. And it was doable for me, which was great. But I definitely was a little nervous coming into living by myself because it's, you know, you're taking care of yourself 24/7, and you can't meet a lot of friends because of the pandemic, and all my coworkers on my team are like 3 hours away. So it's the isolation can get to you. But I've really found like a lot of hobbies that kind of not distracted me, but helped me work through my feelings and my emotions and kind of built me up as a person as well outside of my professional career.
Right. Well, I think one of the things that you just said, Kristen, I think we need to follow up on a little bit is the nothing was holding you back. And one of the things that I think is interesting is that you figured that out and you knew that. And I think so many people miss that opportunity right out of college to go someplace, do something that they never would have imagined before. And they're like, oh, but I don't know. I want to stay close to this or stay close to that, and as someone, for me, like, for example, I have all these buddies that like decide to live together right out of college and had a
Right.
great time doing that. And I think that eventually you're going to have a car payment and you're going to have a house payment. And you're going to have a partner of some form or a dog or a cat or whatever that's harder than just to pick up and move to Hawaii if that's not the job you get the call for. So
Right.
talk about like, how do you have that mindset? Because so few people do. Like you seem to have it's only a year, I'll just go for it and see how it goes. Where does that come from in your mind?
It definitely was challenging because I'm a planner. I like to kind of, have an idea of where I'm going. But actually, it brings me back to my time at JMU. I was actually in the club Bare Naked Ladies, and I was the vice president my senior year. So in that club, we really, you preach like positivity and talking about your emotions and your issues and just overall inclusion. It's a really supportive group that I found on campus. And I feel like I really cultivated that independence and kind of, do what feels right attitude in college. So when I left college, I felt prepared to like go out on my own and try new things, knowing that I had that support systems and those support systems in place in case things did fail.
And you got a little your computer made the sound like when you got an announcement or whatever, right? When you said the name of the
God.
club again.
Bare Naked Ladies.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it was based on what I heard at the very beginning and end, but I want to make sure that people heard it and knew what the group was. Well, and I just think that it's such I don't want to say adult because that sounds kind of strange for me to say adult, but it is it's a bold decision to say, Morgantown, let's go.
Right.
Instead of saying, I don't know, it's not perfect. And I think that your mindset that perfect isn't what you're going for. And I always tell people that the only time there's a path in your life is when you look behind you and you can see the path you've been on, but the path ahead is very unknown no matter what you do. So I really do appreciate your approach to that and hopefully that will help others realize that it is just my first job. Doesn't have to be my dream job, but it's just going to be my first job.
Yeah. And like the biggest thing I think I've learned so far is that mostly good things come out of the other side of fear. So everything I'm afraid of and everything that feels uncomfortable, whether I don't like the outcome, I still learn from it. And it's something that, can offer and open up so many doors for me. So that's really been my attitude going through post grad is just do the things that scare me now,
Just a real quick sidebar. Do you read Brene Brown? Do you read anything of hers?
Some of hers, yes.
Okay. I just think you exude her in what you're talking about and how you're talking about life and all that.
Yeah.
And I think that, and I was looking up because I think what you said is a quote that I remember. Bliss is on the other side of fear.
Yeah.
And I always think of like success is on the other side of struggle.
Yep.
And I think you've got to be able to, sort of get there. Yeah. Will Smith, from Will Smith thing said it, The Fresh Prince.
Yeah. Failure teaches you the most. And that's kind of what I learned throughout my life so far.
Yeah. I remember there was he did this, talk and he was talking about going skydiving and how he was.
I heard that one.
Yep. And his quote from that is, the best things in life are on the other side of terror. On the other side of your maximum fear are all the best things in life. So I don't know that Morgantown was on the other side of your most extreme maximum fear, but I appreciate you embracing that reality.
Yeah.
So you're in Morgantown, which is it's near, but not really near Harrisonburg.
Right.
You're about to move to Milwaukee. So let's, in the last couple minutes let's start with, how did you stay in touch with your friends from JMU?
So luckily a bunch of my friends moved into the DC area or the Nova area. So I've been able to kind of go over and see them on the weekends sometimes. So it wasn't too hard with them. But definitely communication, like in my daily life, like I will schedule, hey, I want to check in on this person, or I want to say, hey, like what's going on with you? Like not just a, hey, hope you're doing well. It's really diving into the deeper relationships with them because you don't have that in-person contact. So it's making sure and prioritizing those times because it can be swept under the rug so fast.
Yeah. And then how is it different though to stay in touch with those folks now than when it was in college? Like what's the, I already know sort of the answer to my question from other people, but I'm just wondering on your end, how is it different now than it was in college to stay in touch?
Yeah, it was just like, in college you have constant contact or, you have the ability to go out and see them and be with them in 15 minutes. But now it's a trip. It's, a flight or, like there was one of my friends actually had a baby and she was 8 hours away and I woke up at 3 a.m. and like drove and surprised her because like they're important to me. So it's figuring out who's important to you and throwing in, making it a priority, but it's definitely a lot more difficult. But then when you are together, it's a little bit more special.
Got it. No, I agree. All right, let's wrap up with the hardest question I feel like I'm asking in any of these calls. So I want you to imagine you going into your final semester of college. So you're talking to yourself right now. So you're in February 26th, I guess 2020, right?
Right.
All right. So you're talking to yourself February 26th, 2020. What advice do you give yourself? What do you tell yourself? What do you wish you had known? Like, what are those sort of final words of wisdom you want to give yourself then about life now?
Right. I think two pieces of advice is what I would say is savor every moment. If it's just you and your friends sitting on the couch watching TV together, that's special. That's important. So savor it. And I think my second thing kind of moving into, my professional career life is that success looks different in every stage of your life. So, going into my first role, it was, find the balance between work, get it down pat, do your best. But now like moving into my second role, it's a little bit different. So it's like, yeah, I'm really thrilled to be promoted, but success has kind of turned into, I want to be happy. I want to be content. I want to be balanced. So it's kind of interesting to see my definition of success change over the roles. So I would probably just say to myself, like, don't be too hard on yourself. You're going through a pandemic. Just do your best.
Yeah. And then I lied. You just made me think of another question. What is the one or two things you would attribute your professional success to, being promoted 8 months in? Like, why has that happened? It's not accidental. I'm not going to let you say that it's luck.
Yeah.
What has led to you having success already 8 months out?
I would probably say like keeping your head down, keeping focused on yourself. So even when you think no one's watching, people are watching. So do what feels right for you. If that's going out and like, working out before you go to work because it feels good for you, like it's going to add up. They're going to be small changes that add up. And then also ask for what you want. Like if I didn't make what I wanted known, I probably wouldn't have gotten promoted. So it's making sure you're standing up for yourself and pushing yourself forward in your career because you can't really rely on anybody else to do that for you.
Yeah, that's great. I have a former student I talked to who's now just finished law school, and she and I talked about a month ago, and she reflected back on advice I gave her that I didn't remember I gave her. That apparently I said to her, I wrote it down. You won't get what you don't ask for.
Yeah.
And she apparently made a friendship and a relationship with the hardest professor in her law school. And everyone else is like, how did you do that? She goes, you don't get what you don't ask for.
Exactly.
So the first day of classes at 2L, she walked up to them after class, introduced herself, said that I'd love to, get to know you better, understand your career and all that kind of stuff. And now that person is her greatest advocate out in the world.
Yeah.
And I think you asked for what you wanted, and that's the only way you get it. Because if you don't tell people you want it, they don't know.
Yeah.
So, and one of my favorite books is The Alchemist. And in that book, it talks about that when you're on the path, the universe conspires to help you find your success. So I think that sounds to me, Kristin, like you're on the path.
Yep. And then also just being like grateful for everything you have, because if you're like, I could totally be upset that I was moved here, but it was like, once I realized that like, I'm grateful to have a job, I'm grateful to be able to live on my own. Like the universe is going to reward you with more. Why would they give you more if you're not happy with what they already have for you?
Yeah. No, I agree. And I'm not going to keep doing stories, but there's some other story out there where, someone keeps trying to be offered help and they kept saying no. And then later, like, why didn't you help me? Like, I sent you this and I sent you this and I sent you this and you ignored all of it. So I'm glad you grabbed the grabbed what was given to you, and then you earned it from there. So congratulations, and thanks for taking the time to talk to me today.
Thank you very much.
So, and enjoy your move to Milwaukee.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Kristin. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you, you too. Bye.
Bye.